You've got Namibia, you've got South Africa, now you've got the Philippines. What are the commonalities between these, or the yawning differences? What does each place teach you, and how does your model have a relevance and a grab in those different environments?
Yeah, so we sold Namibia. When the Australians bought us, they said Namibia is too small, just sell that off. So now we've got South Africa and the Philippines, and we're actually working on our next one, which will be Vietnam. Okay. So we hope that our third market, sort of this time next year, will be the Vietnam market. I think the one thing, and along the journey, I also got to chair a bank in Indonesia, sit on bank boards in China and in India and in Vietnam.
And Vietnam, yeah.
And so got to know that part of the world. I think the one thing I'll say is when you're in South Africa all the time, you tend to start suffering from a bit of exceptionalism. You think that South Africa is very unique and like our problems are unique and so on. So the one thing I'll say, our problems are not unique. They are very consistent with problems in other emerging markets. Right now, some of them are more acute than other places. But these markets actually have a lot in common. And the people in these markets and what they need at a conceptual level have a lot in common. However, when you get to the details, things change very quickly.
And that detail is what? Behavior, customs?
Behavior, customs, what they do today, the journey they'll go on from where they are today. My team's tired of me using the Sufi quote that we can only walk from where we stand. And we all stand in a different place at a given time. And that is true for every market. It's true for every segment in every market is in a different place. And what we're doing now in the business is what we're learning is that actually humans aren't smart enough to figure out all these journeys that customers need to go on, depending on where they are today, what they're ready to learn today, and what they were ready to learn next. So one of our biggest investments in the business is what we call a recommendation engine. And a recommendation engine is essentially run by AI, with a ChatGPT overlay to accelerate the creation and the testing of messages. And what it now does is it actually tries to figure out every individual. Where are they in the journey? What do they know? What don't they know? And what is the most likely thing that they'll want to learn, be willing to learn next and do next? And so at a macro level, that's true for countries, that your winning propositions are very different country to country, market segment to market segment. And now we're learning it's actually quite unique to the individual. And you need to actually understand, really learn, and by learn I mean increasingly machine learning, learn where the customer is at and what the customer is most likely to want to do next.
And this is through access to their decisions, their data. You're mining this massive pool of data to try and figure out the pathways. If I could ask, is there a distinction in that practice or process between nudges and proposals?
Yes. So what I would say is, depending on where you are with a customer, if by nudges and proposals you mean softer and being more imposing yourself on the customer more.
Yeah, I suppose my reference to a nudge is, I'm going to take you there you may not know.
Yes.
Whereas the proposal is, here's some suggestions. Yeah. Do you want to elect this?
Yeah, your question is onto something very interesting. So we have a richness of data now on customers that, when I read that article in 2000, I could never have guessed that we would be in this world.
Imagine.
That we know the things about customers now that we do. And because we're not, in our business, we don't work only with banking data. We work with mobile data, phone data, the loyalty data of customers, and we're able to sort of triangulate these things. I would say the first rule of communication with customers is, first, don't freak the customer out.
Okay.
Don't say something that they go, how the hell did you know this? And like, I'm not comfortable with this thing, right?
Yeah.
So I think it does start very sort of, you have to be initially quite tentative. You have to sort of be, very careful how you communicate, very respectful how you communicate with customers. But as you build trust, you can be a little bit more forthright with the customer. And it's on a spectrum. So I don't think it's a binary thing. Do you nudge? Do you? It's on a spectrum of how do you communicate with the customers. And what we're now learning, what we all know intuitively, but we weren't great at, is that you have to continue to test. So A/B testing is going to be, I think, key in the future. And it's all about how fast you can sort of learn. And so I think, increasingly what will happen is that we will be testing literally, thousands of messages and see what customers feel comfortable with, certain customer segments and so on feel comfortable with, what helps the conversation along, and what the customer doesn't feel helpful. And it's not just about the content of the message, it's about the channel. Do you speak to the customer in-app? Do you speak to the customer through SMSs? Do you send the customer email? Do you do it on social media? Do you bring the customer messages up when the customer's on social media? Do you go above the line? And so my Chief Marketing Officer, Linda, is sitting here. A lot of this thing is that sort of combination, is that mix of the right communication channel and the right message to the customer at the right time.